Welcome
Welcome
to Shade
to
and the
the
City.
city.
I'm your girl Treese.
It's now.
And today, y'all, we are here to get into none other than the Real Housewives season 16. This is the reunion part 2. Don't get me lying about what episode it is because I don't think I even care anymore. We're in the reunion at this point.
Mhm.
But yeah, y'all. So a lot of thoughts, a lot of receipts have come out after this. And as I text Nels as I was watching it, I said, Shamia lost everything on that stage. Okay. Everything. I'm glad that she won with her dress and her hair because she lost everything else. All right. But y'all can let me know your thoughts in the comments. Nels, what do you think?
I do think it was a tough road for poor Shamia. And I don't honestly I think after this I don't think that everyone is on the Shamia bandwagon as far as her and Portia's friendship goes because there were receipts. I mean, there were
Yes,
receipts.
yes, yes. All right, y'all. So we're gonna get right into it. If you have not
See,
already,
Portia, I ain't never switch up, girl. I ain't never switch up.
you stupid. You was Shamia.
I
Shamia.
still like Shamia, but I ain't never switch up and be like, oh no, I don't mess with Portia.
Well, yeah, I don't think I ever said that either. I just said she was a bad friend.
But no, I still like Shamia. I think she fly.
I think Shamia's fine, but I have a very interesting and different perspective on Shamia. But y'all, if you have not already, please make sure you hit that like button.
And that subscribe button.
And y'all, let's get right into it and let's get shady. Y'all, we get into Andy is still, I ain't even gonna hold you. I'm gonna cover this because it obviously is a part of the reunion, but I was so over this conversation because Angela completely fell flat with this. Okay. I love me some Angela now. I am on the Angela bandwagon. However, we just needed to let this go. But anyway, so Andy is asking her why she's convinced that Phaedra had anything to do with this, plot against Charles. And Angela, says that she thought it was to secure her spot. And Andy said, Phaedra's secured. You ain't got to worry about that. Okay. And so, of course, she's questioning Portia about why she's so quick to trust Phaedra after everything they've been through. And Portia is like, because the story sounded silly as, and then and Phaedra was like, and then the whole thing about Junebug. And so Phaedra's adamant, I do not know this man, and he don't know me. And so Angela is continuing to harp on the fact that he knows your brother. And Shamia's like, well, you know what? I just don't think that Angela would set something like this up about her own marriage. I can agree with you on that. And Angela is, basically is saying that because Andy is like, well, what is Phaedra's motivation to do this to you, Angela? And she's like, because, she likes self-producing. And so then she brings up how she mentioned how she knew Charles and Phaedra was like, I do know Charles. We hung out like 10 years ago. So Angela's like, that's bull and you don't know my husband. And I was like, clearly she does. You do know people knew him before you, and clearly Sheree did too. You weren't the only one, Angela. Okay? I mean, while it may you are now, but please don't think 10 years ago you were the only one. I'm just saying. Especially when you've admitted to his infidelities.
Mm. Mm.
Anyway, um, so then basically Phaedra ends up calling her brother. Okay. I'm gonna just cut to the chase. They did have this back and forth about I'm the room in the rooms that you want to be in, and I'm in your faves, and I'm not gonna do that. She calls her brother for backup, and her brother did what any sibling is supposed to do. And not saying that her brother was lying, but her brother gonna stand 10 toes down. I don't know that woman. I don't know that lady. So basically, Cynthia interjects and she said, if Angela set this up, it is the biggest heist of all time. And so, and I just thought that was funny because she's the one that did the event in the bank. So, and then she also adds that Angela's reasoning of Phaedra isn't accurate because, again, her spot is secure. So then Andy asked Kelly her opinion. Kelly, like I said, thinks it's Britt. So then he moves on and asks Angela where she stands with the group, and she feels like that they can all move forward. But then she brings up the comment that Kelly made about, her comparing marriages, and she hope she don't end up like her. And of course, Kelly's in denial. I didn't say that. Bravo do what they do best, roll the beautiful bling footage. And then we determined that Kelly is a whole lie. Okay. And so she's like, well, if I said that, I apologize. Girl, they just showed you said it.
I wonder, when they do that, are the cast members able to see it too? Are they looking at it also?
Maybe not. Maybe that's what it was. But yeah, she apologized. She said, I wasn't trying to discuss your marriage. Then one of the viewers bring up Angela's age. Angela produces a birth certificate for us to prove that she was born in 1981. Then Andy mentions Phaedra's comment about Angela being the oldest looking young woman that she's ever seen. And so Phaedra said, that was after the allegations, and Angela said, well, yeah, because you came on this show looking real old. And I was like, yeah, Phaedra did have a whole different face when she came on here. Okay. So then they get into Shamia shading Angela's 99 no's. And one of the viewers asked about her being perimenopausal. And this when she does her plug for her Fandy line, which we know she's coming out with, which I thought was a very smart idea. If you know what? I'm gonna turn your shade into some paper. Okay. That's what I'm about to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Andy asked her about the rental properties, and apparently she's let them all go, because she was just in so much debt. She said it was over like 100K a month, I think she said.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a lot. And then she talks about also, it was a lot dealing with the loss of her mom, which we know her mom did pass away unexpectedly. Um, One of the viewers brings up whether Angela felt Drew had her back at Cynthia's Bailey Q when all the girls were attacking her. And Angela admits that she didn't feel Drew had her back and kind of left her, out to dry. And all the ladies do kind of agree, like, yeah, Drew, because the way Angela rode for you since day one. And so Drew does apologizes for not showing up the way, she felt she should. Um, and so then here we go, Shamia. Okay. So then she's like, well, excuse me. I need to say something. And we're like, but this is Drew and Angela's moment, Shamia. But here we go, always looking for a moment. And she said, well, why can you apologize for not showing up for Angela? But y'all were picking me and, Portia's friendship apart. And Drew, I love when Drew warned her and said, you do not want to go down that road. Don't open that box. Okay. But basically Drew tells her, it's not cute. I really want more for you. Oh.
So then Andy decided to move on and asked Phaedra, why did she choose this reunion and skip out on Married to Medicine? I said,
I knew you thought this was gonna. I was like, Nels is gonna love that question.
Andy, you is a shady ass. He's a shady ass, and I'm here for all of it. And Phaedra said, she had nothing else to give them. They didn't want her there. They didn't see her value or her worth. And she said, at the end of the day, I'm an original housewife. Okay. I said, all right, Phaedra. She answered that.
She said, let me remind you.
Yeah.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. Okay.
Exactly. So then he asked Phaedra why she felt the need to take on the big sister role to Britt and Grenada. And, she said that she saw that she was self-sabotaging. Shamia said it's crazy how she did that for her, and took up for her when Britt wasn't even seeing it for her. So Phaedra said, you'll have experiences with everybody in this group, but I've seen a lot of people make strong conclusions about people based on one experience. Phaedra, girl, when you open your mouth,
Mm.
girl, when you open your mouth,
Angela said, "Was that for me? Was that for me?"
Angela said, was that directed towards me? She said, I mean, it could be if the shoe fit.
Okay, but Angela said, "Okay, I'll receive it. I'll
Yes,
receive
she
it."
did. And I love that Angela said that because it was definitely for you. And she made a valid point because she did keep, because Angela kept on bringing it up
Yeah.
uh, at the reunion. So I was like, okay. And Phaedra said, yes, we had a bad experience. But when I reached out to you, when I heard about your mom, I hope you know that that was real, real. Okay. Because, we can all get petty, but that was, straight from the heart. And Portia was asked, how was it so easy for her to forgive Phaedra, but not Shamia after all Phaedra's done to her? And she said, time.
And we
Okay. And
had
then
conversations.
in a conversation, and she said, and it could possibly happen with Shamia as well. I was like, oh, everybody on this other side of the couch is, making sense over here. The
Okay.
people on the other side is just giving silly. Okay. Um,
Um, two. Well, no, Angela did make herself look silly earlier. Three. Because if anything, Drew was
who you
redeemed.
count out, Drew? You count out
Yep.
Drew?
Mm-hmm. Because that bag was real, baby. That bag was real. And Shamia felt real small.
Drew did not look silly at this reunion. I got to give you that. She did not.
Mhm.
Um, okay, so then they addressed Phaedra saying Shamia was community property. And Shamia basically told her, that we had a conversation, but it was never actually addressed, the things that she said about her. So Phaedra was like, okay, so if that's the case, why didn't you address them then? And Shamia was like, well, bottom line, we never had a conversation about the allegations that were out there about me. I was waiting for Shamia to answer why you ain't address it when we was face to face.
This is
Okay.
when I just went into full disappointment of Shamia because I was like, so mind you, I ain't even gonna hold you. I completely forgot about that. I even forgot that it was brought up at Portia's party. And the fact that and that's why I said it has me looking at Shamia differently when it
Mhm.
comes to this Portia situation, but we're gonna get there.
Well, she said that she moved on from it. And all the ladies basically said, no, boo, you were still upset about it because you brought
Mhm.
it up pampered by Portia. And Phaedra said, okay, well, you know what? I'll apologize. But she said she's always made it seem like it was laughable. Um, Shamia said, of course she's gonna dumb it down. Um, and basically, the ladies kind of got in her ass. Cynthia was basically like, no, but you can't do that. Okay.
That's the problem. You can't say it's cool and act like it's good and then try to bring it up and make it seem like somebody did you wrong. But yet
And then
you've been
in
hanging around
interviews,
a person, kikiing and ha-ha.
and then in interviews, you want to talk mess. But you know what? After Phaedra apologized, Shamia said, you know what? Okay, now moving on. When she gets asked the question in interviews, she'll say that Phaedra apologized and they've moved past it. In the break, everybody, either called or got to see their boyfriends or husbands. Dennis came by to see Portia.
Look,
She
my notes say husbands, baby daddies, and boyfriends show up.
um, she basically asked Dennis if he had any bombs to drop today. He said no, no bombs today. And then while Ralph was getting a haircut, he asked Dennis how was it working with Drew, and he said, she's talented. And Ralph said that he expected the album to be all about him, and he was like, well, she did put up a picture in the booth of your ass, but don't take it personal. Don't.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't even catch that part.
No. I said, oh, okay. Yeah, I guess the album is all about you. So you were right.
Mm. I
Got the
mean,
picture.
it a good portion. It definitely feels directed at him. I love seeing Charles back there hyping Angela up. I thought that was cute. I was like,
Yeah.
look at Charles finally being supportive like he's supposed to.
Cooking on
So,
camera, he getting backlash.
and then I don't know if you mentioned about how Shamia ran to Kelly's room
No.
about how quiet she was, and we saw her on the phone with Gerald because Gerald won't showing up for the reunion. He didn't show up for the season
Mhm.
unless it was on a FaceTime. So,
Or I
and
think it's his birthday.
or in her birthday. Um, so basically, she feel like she need to chime in a little bit more, and then she brings up Britt not being at the reunion, and Kelly talking about Portia's energy seems off, and I was like, actually, Portia seems fine to me.
Mhm.
So then Andy gets to the Britt and Kenya of it all. Okay, he reads statements from both of the ladies, and Shamia's, and I love Kenya's statement said basically, "I'll be back. I'll see you soon, Bravo." And Britt, you lost your job. Okay. So Shamia said that it's mind-blowing to learn that the photo wasn't even of Britt and feels like that she played into it. And Shamia said that the night they went out, Britt acted like she was completely fine, but then returned to the group like she was so devastated. And so Kelly said, look, I tried to be supportive in every way. And so Andy brings up that Britt felt Kenya was coming for her since day one. And all the ladies agree that nobody felt that that was the case.
I
As
think
we all felt,
I was
we
about
knew
to say,
she
even the audience thought she was reaching.
right. We knew she needed a hug. She kept making that clear that she needed a hug.
Because girl, you are wearing one ring. It does look like you are just
Right.
engaged.
Angela, Angela brings up, well, that's why I wrote the question down at the bank because Kenya had no clue how Britt felt about her. And so one of the viewers was asking Cynthia why she had so much grace for Britt and not Kenya. And Cynthia said that's not true. She said that she just didn't agree with her choice.
And
Now,
how she reacted.
this is another moment where I have to go against my fellow Pisces because I do respect her for telling Cynthia on camera, not Cynthia, Kenya on camera that what she did was wrong and saying it on camera. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
However, once you said it, I feel like that should have been it. And that's not what happened. Every chance she got interviewed and anybody asked her about it, all she kept harping on was how wrong Kenya was. And I think that if that were me and that were you, and I've told you you're wrong, there's proof, film footage that
Mhm.
I've called you out and held you accountable. That's it for me. The next time somebody asks me, I'm going to say, you'll see it play out on the show, but I held her accountable, and that's all we need. And Britt is also wrong, and I would have left it at that.
Mm. So you think that's why Kenya's upset
That's why Kenya's not fucking with her.
because she kept on
Mhm.
talking about it.
Cynthia says that she's never going to compromise her integrity for family or her friends. She said even if that meant her daughter. So Portia brings up Kenya's reaction to Britt mentioning having a pow pow and says that, she absolutely turned into like the protective sister because that's her sister on the show. And she absolutely heard it and knew that Kenya felt a way about it. And in true Kenya fashion, she was going to retaliate and go dig up some dirt on her. And so she said that she heard that she had got it from another cast member. And so Andy then brings up the investigation. And Shamia, of course, here she goes. This is when she want to chime in. So where did you get it? Where did you get it? And so Portia said, well, Kenya told me she got it from Drew. And so Drew said, how did I get in it? And she said, I don't want to be in it. All right. And so she tells her that Kenya told her she got it she said, Kenya told me she got it from a private investigator. So Portia explains that Kenya did say it was Drew and she was mad. And she said, and I was very upset with her that she said, I knew she was going to do something, but I'm mad that she chose to do it at her event. And so then she speaks up for Kenya and says that she does feel bad. And Cynthia said that Kenya still hasn't spoken to her since the incident and still won't take her calls to this day. And so she said Sweet 16 was not that sweet.
So then they move on to Shamia, and they show the scene where Britt basically said that she was lying. So of course, Shamia got emotional, and she said that she wished that that was her story. Uh, and she was fabricating it, but it bothered her to the core. She said that Shiloh is now doing much better. She's had 2 surgeries, and now they have a new surrogate. Um, they brought up some question from the fan about if she feels like she has to give this man a baby, but I feel like Shamia kind of already addressed it during the show, so I didn't really get into that.
No, I get what you're saying.
So she was asked why she's always comparing herself to Drew's singing and acting abilities, and they said that she is a household name and a triple threat. Shamia,
This,
I
this.
said, woo! Shamia congratulated Drew and told her that she's proud of her. She said Drew was always calling her a lap dog. So she shaded her songs, but she never shaded her voice or her ability to hit notes. She was trying
And
to
look,
throw shade.
y'all, even if you still mad at Drew from the game, at least you knew who she was.
I was definitely still mad at Drew from the game.
Huh?
I said I was definitely still mad at Drew from the game.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is at least you knew who she was and what she was from. She won't just Portia's friend.
What did I watch? And I saw
Drumline.
Was it Drumline?
Shamia was in Drumline. She had a little piece. It won't the game status.
No. It was the same. It was her and Drew in it, the TLC movie.
Oh yeah, and Drew actually had a role as like one of the members of TLC.
And I think Shamia the pregnant one, or
she was an extra.
You're the worst.
Let's call the thing she want to call. I love me some Drew. If you gonna call my baby out about her lies, let's talk about.
So Drew, said, well, you did say I was a liar. And you said that and brought up, the 5 different languages and brought out a book. She gave her a book.
She was like, I read it.
5 love languages. So apparently nobody knew, I guess, until the reunion that that's what she was referring to.
No, everybody knew that. That's why they said, "Oh, she's talking
Shamia,
about love."
Shamia was like, "See, I'm not the only one confused, or I'm not like the only one that knew."
Trying to make nothing out of something like her role in the TLC movie.
You're the worst. So then Shamia told her, there has been some things that she lied about and said, I'll show you one of them, and told her in an episode, she said that she was carrying a Judith Lieber bag.
It's so expensive, we can't even say the name right.
A Judith Lieber bag, and told
Look,
her
a JL.
And then told her in reality it was a fake and she got it from Akira.
Now that's where you got your bag from.
It was a good knockoff though.
It was. That's why Portia was like, "Can I get it?"
Yeah, the one that she pulled out was a great knockoff. It literally looked identical to the one that she had. But listen, Drew said, "Bookie, I got receipts, and don't you worry, I'll post them." She's like, "I ain't lie about that." And if I'm not mistaken, I think even Judith Lieber vouched for her.
Dropped in the comments and absolutely vouched and said this is a vintage Cosmopolitan martini bag, couture martini bag. It's like $5,000.
It was so funny.
Mine, where Shamia's is 130 something.
It was like $6,000.
Yeah.
But I think it was.
You don't understand when I see numbers like that. I'm concentrating on getting it to the lower end. I don't want to go to the high end.
Time to pull your card out and take it to the bigger end, girl. You gotta get to the bigger end because that's what the card.
I'd rather think 4,000 than 6 when I'm spending money. Okay.
You got to make sure it's all there.
It's all there.
But okay, so I thought it was funny. Portia asked if she can have it, and look, Shamia was like, "Let's just see how the rest of this night go." Okay. Look, girl, it's on Akira. Okay, for $130, girl, go on and order you one. Okay, because it definitely did look like it. I would show Rocket as a knockoff.
And wish somebody would tell me. I'd be like, Akira.
Oh, you know what? That's what I was gonna say. I thought it was funny because Shamia was like, "Oh, girl, you gonna go online and buy one and act like you had it the whole time." You saw she circled the date that she had bought it. I said,
because it was in 2024.
Yeah, April of 2024. I said, okay.
Shamia just fall flat.
It was, but you know what? Like you could actually tell because Drew didn't get hype at all. She was like,
Right.
she's like, I'll post it.
Right. And that's what I'm gonna be honest. That's why I said this to me was a really good. I don't know how next week is gonna go with fucking Ralph coming out, but in my opinion, this has probably been one of her best reunions.
Yeah.
Because I feel like she's like standing here and okay, like even the lies that she's trying to bring up, they're not lies. So you look kind of nuts. Like it's weird. Like you should have brought up the Michael Jordan thing. Now that was an actual lie.
But I think she said it was a joke.
Right. But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So Andy then moves on and asks Portia if she thought Britt was being malicious about telling her about the text messages Shamia had shared with her. And Portia thinks that it was malicious because Britt felt like she was kicked out of their little alliance. However, the things she shared, she knew she had texted to Shamia. So Kelly asked, so they asked if Kelly had seen the messages, and Kelly gonna stand 10 toes down in that alliance. She said, nah, I ain't seen nothing. I don't know what she's talking about. So Shamia brings up that the tea Britt brought that she thought she was spilling, she had already disclosed and her and Portia not celebrating her on getting her peach.
If I was Portia, I'd have been like, what does that have to do with the therapist? Because that's really what Portia saw and knew that she showed the messages. So I'd have been like, what does that have to do with the therapist? Because that was in the messages.
Right. So Drew calls her out for lying and says, well, you told Angela and me the same thing. And so Shamia says that Portia texted her, but they didn't go out. Now that's like, and tell me if I'm reaching, because my boo says I'm bad at analogies. But to me, that's like if it's your birthday and I text you or I send you a gift, but I don't get to take you out, does that mean I didn't tell you happy birthday?
You acknowledge it, like
is that the stipulations of our friendship? So that was another thing that had me looking at her strange. But we're gonna get there because I told.
And the fact that she didn't even mention that the girl sent her freaking flowers.
Oh, we
didn't know it until Portia pulled up a video.
I'm getting there. Let me cook. Let me cook. Okay. So Andy decides to go ahead and said, we here now. Let's go down this rabbit hole. Okay. This is what we waiting for. This is the main attraction. So Andy said, well, what is the current status of this friendship? And they both agreed that there isn't one. Okay. Portia said she could have moved past what happened during the season. Okay. She said, but it's Shamia's live smear campaign and the lies that she's told. And she talks about how she went on Candy's show and lied. Then lied about having one wedding and decided to, but she said, I was still going to give her grace. Okay. And so she said, my issue is her planning to come on this show and sabotage me. She accuses Shamia of using what the fans already know about her over the years and brings up how they remember that scene, which is from Shamia's bridal shower. It was like, but you lied to me and told me that you weren't coming to my wedding based on a medical condition when actually you said it was because we were beefing. And so Kelly tries to ask her, and so Kelly was like, well, what is the medical condition? What exactly is the diagnosis? And Portia said, that shit ain't funny. You better shut your little smurf ass up. Okay? What is strawberry shortcake, whatever. I think strawberry shortcake is a little cuter than Smurf, but anyway. So then basically Portia cuts her off. Portia's like, look, I'm trying to finish my point so I can get to where I'm going because it is important and detrimental to our future. And you could tell Shamia's like, well, you don't even care about having a future, so why does it matter? And I said, for somebody who want to be so hard, but you so hurt right now. You is so hurt. Girl, get yourself together. You don't know whether you want to be a friend or an enemy. And I'm going to get into that. Like I said, let me cook. So, Portia said they had a beautiful friendship, but after that, and now hearing she's formed an alliance with these new girls, she good. So Shamia interrupts and says, I tried to include you in the alliance. And Portia said, she said, look, I'm not finished yet. I'm going to be heard today because I came here for truth, okay? I am on my Portia sojourner truth, okay? So then Portia makes it clear, I wasn't a part of no alliance with Kelly, who was constantly coming at me. She said, I didn't know Britt like that, and I wasn't invited to nobody's dinner. So Shamia said, no, well, that happened early in the season, and I was encouraged, Kelly and Britt, that we got to all hang out with Portia. And then Portia goes on to say, I ain't never got nobody's call, and questioned Shamia. And she said, and I even questioned Shamia on why we weren't filming together. So then Andy interrupts and mentions that Shamia said she would be willing to put in effort if Portia makes the first move, and brings up that Portia had made a birthday post. And Shamia said that it was sweet, and she, texted her back. And then Portia says, and then she ran out on another smear campaign right after. And she was like, I don't know why she's fighting me. And Shamia's like, well, I don't know why you fight me. And Portia said, because you're lying. You're lying.
Did you hear Shamia say, well, you're lying too?
Mm-hmm.
Or like, I'm not the only one lying?
Right. I do think that there was an exchange. I'm not clearing Portia, but I am going to point out something. Then Shamia brings up how Portia posted about her mama and how she did something to Miss Diane. And Portia says, and did. And Andy is like, well, what the hell happened? And then they shut the reunion down. And then we're going to get that in part 3. But let me tell you something. And shout out to Queen Sheba for pointing this out. If I was mad at you about something that happened 10 years ago, and I've been going on vacation with you, around your kids, loving or acting like everything is totally, how psychotic is that? That means you've been harboring this for 10 years, but you've been in my space, place, vicinity. That's some scary and you've always felt this way this whole entire time, and never talked to me about it, and waited till we got up on this platform to talk to these new girls and tell them how you really feel. But you've been around me this whole 10 years.
But you see, she's capable of doing that, because that's exactly what Phaedra was saying.
Right. But that's what my point was. That's why I was getting, because I was like, do you see how nutty that is? I feel like that takes a real crazy. Because what did Queen Sheba say? She played the long game. Oh, I'm going to get you back. 10 years?
You do think this was like a scheme, like Portia said?
It's a scheme that Todd set up to set us up with the bush.
Not that Todd. I can't. Oh, man.
I was just like, I if you're really that upset with me about something, there's no way we're moving the same way we've been moving for 10 years, and then you decide to bring it up.
That sounds like that should have been the end of the friendship 10 years ago.
Right. And that's why I said it sounds like she's played the long game and wanted to get a lick back. And that's why I do kind of believe, Portia, that you came on here to sabotage me. Do I believe Portia really, really wanted her on the show? Probably not. But I also think that Shamia came with the motives to take her down. I said what I said. Woo! All right, y'all. I told you, let me cook. It's done. All right. Come get your dinner. All right. So if you guys have not already, please make sure you hit that like button.
Make sure you comment.
Make sure that you guys are subscribed.
And you hit the notification bell.
And make sure you're following us on all the platforms. That's the TikTok, IG, the X, the Facebook, and the, what am I missing? Blue Sky. Yeah, I'll be live skying, y'all. But yeah, and we will catch you next week for part 3 of the Real Housewives reunion. Bye-bye. Have a good night.